George and Christina are left stunned tonight after uncovering the contents of Summer's private journal. But could her writings reveal the truth behind Theo's murder? This week's episodes place Summer at the center of the police investigation after weeks of suspicious behavior. As pressure grows, even some of the people closest to her begin questioning whether she could really be involved. In Monday's scenes, Summer appears deeply unsettled when Detective Kit confidently announces that police are getting closer to identifying Theo's killer. Later at number 11, George accidentally spills Summer's bag and is shocked when he notices pages from her journal describing just how much she despised Theo. Viewers are briefly shown parts of the diary entries themselves, although the scenes pass quickly. The first passages focus on Summer learning that Theo was responsible for Billy's death during the Corriedale crash earlier this year. Carl had secretly informed her that Theo abandoned Billy and left him to die. One emotional entry describes Summer struggling to process the revelation, writing that her hands were shaking, her thoughts racing, and that simply realizing Theo was responsible made her feel sick. She also reflects on Carl overhearing Theo speaking to Billy's body at the funeral parlor, expressing disgust that Theo went anywhere near Billy after what he had done. The journal continues with Summer angrily recalling how Theo delivered Billy's funeral eulogy while pretending to grieve, despite secretly being responsible for his death. Another passage reveals Summer admitting she had never hated anyone more. She explains that Carl offered to obtain a confession from Theo in exchange for £10,000 from her inheritance, and although she knew Carl could not be trusted, part of her was tempted because all she truly wanted was Billy back. A separate entry focuses on the horrifying aftermath of Theo's violent attack on Todd, which eventually led to Todd reporting him to the police. Summer describes Theo as a monster and writes that she never believed she could hate him more until discovering he had nearly killed Todd after brutally beating him and causing severe internal injuries. She also questions how long Todd had suffered abuse at Theo's hands before the truth finally came out. George and Christina's investigation into the journal abruptly ends when Summer catches them reading her private thoughts and furiously confronts them for invading her privacy. However, with the couple now deeply suspicious, they may struggle to simply let the matter drop. Coronation Street is preparing another difficult storyline for Daniel as he continues trying to recover from his relationship with Megan. Viewers recently watched Megan finally face criminal charges after Will gave police a statement confirming she had groomed him. At the same time, Daniel has been struggling emotionally and was recently suspended from his teaching job following an angry outburst at school. Daniel later told Ken he planned to spend some time away in the Lake District, but instead secretly remained in his flat, where Jody unexpectedly discovered him. After using the stolen key to get inside, Jody was invited to stay by Daniel, and the two soon began growing closer. In upcoming scenes airing on Tuesday, Daniel and Jody visit the cafe, where they both end up awkwardly embarrassing themselves during a conversation with Roy about the renovations. Things then take a darker turn when Nina shows Daniel an online account called Truth Teller. The profile has been spreading rumors claiming Daniel knew about Megan and Will, while also accusing him of grooming Summer and bringing up the allegations made by Max back in 2021. Jody encourages Daniel to ignore the online attacks, but he admits he cannot simply brush them aside because the accusations could seriously affect his chances of returning to work. Roy also offers Daniel some advice, warning him that replying to the messages would only attract even more abuse online. The question now is whether Daniel can resist responding. Coronation Street producer Kate Brooks recently revealed that Megan's downfall will have major consequences for several residents. Discussing Daniel's storyline, Brooks explained that Daniel believed he had found somebody who shared his values as a teacher. Megan appeared trustworthy and respectable, leaving Daniel completely deceived once the truth emerged, which ultimately caused his life to spiral. Brooks also praised Rob Mallard's performance, teasing that viewers will watch Daniel gradually begin losing control as he struggles to know who he can trust after being deeply hurt by the relationship. She added that Daniel also feels responsible because he originally defended Megan, meaning he now believes he has failed both Will and Bertie. Future episodes will continue exploring the emotional damage Megan caused to Daniel's life and how the experience could permanently affect his future relationships. Maggie is preparing for another dangerous confrontation as Megan makes her return to Weatherfield. Maggie has already taken a life to protect the people she cares about, but now those same loved ones are beginning to turn against her. With Megan back in Coronation Street and once again threatening her grandson, Maggie could become more unpredictable than ever now that she feels she has nothing left to lose. During the dramatic murder week, abusive Theo met a deadly end, but Maggie herself nearly lost her life as well. Following a heated confrontation with Megan, which was interrupted by an emotional and conflicted Will, Maggie was later found unconscious on the ground by two young girls. However, it took more than a brutal fall to defeat the fierce Rover's landlady. Maggie survived the ordeal after suffering a heart attack, which is terrible news for Megan. Megan had secretly manipulated Will into an illegal relationship while hiding the truth from Maggie. When police failed to gather enough evidence to charge her, Maggie decided to take matters into her own hands and tried forcing a confession out of Megan. But during the argument, Maggie lost control and shoved her. Megan then used the incident to trick Will into believing the fall caused her to lose their baby, despite secretly having already undergone a termination beforehand. The shocking revelation exploded when Will walked in on Maggie and Megan's tense balcony confrontation, leaving the troubled teenager more confused and emotionally devastated than ever. Because of everything that has happened, the Driscoll family desperately needs to stay united, though that currently seems nearly impossible. Maggie's relationship with Ben has been hanging by a thread ever since he learned she had lied to him his entire life about who his real father was. While Maggie recovered from her heart attack, Ben reluctantly allowed her some breathing room and attempted to keep the peace for Will's sake. But the uneasy truce quickly collapsed when Melanie discovered her son had been groomed by his athletics coach while living under Maggie's roof. Furious and heartbroken, she wanted to take Will away to Scotland and pressured Maggie into helping convince Ben. Melanie also threatened to reveal Maggie's darkest secret, that she caused Alan's death by pushing him down the stairs. Eventually, the pressure became unbearable, and Maggie confessed the truth to Ben last Thursday. He was devastated by the revelation and refused to accept her explanation that Alan's death had been accidental. In anger, he threw Maggie out of both the family and the pub. Then came the worst possible development, Megan's release. Will had originally planned to escape Weatherfield with Megan and begin a new life together in Paris, completely unaware she never intended to take him with her. Megan had secretly purchased only one ticket. After an emotional conversation with Tim, who understood the trauma of being manipulated by someone trusted, Will finally realized the truth and reported Megan to the police. But Megan's arrest does not last long. Upcoming Coronation Street scenes reveal the dangerous predator is released on bail just as Maggie reaches her lowest point. Questions immediately arise over whether Megan has returned for revenge or to target Will once again. Ben later receives a call from the police confirming Megan has been freed, leaving him furious. Tensions rise even further when Maggie unexpectedly appears at a family lunch after Ollie invited her, much to Ben's annoyance. The atmosphere soon becomes unbearable until Ben finally informs Will that Megan is out on bail. Maggie promises she will protect her grandson no matter what, but Ben suddenly loses his temper and blurts out a devastating secret in front of Ollie and Will. Has Maggie's deadly past finally been exposed? And if it has, how far could she now go to stop Megan permanently? With her family rejecting her and her emotions spiraling out of control, Maggie may now be more dangerous than ever before. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and is available for streaming on ITVX.